What's up, Radio World? We know you've been waiting for another show of the Sport Bros on Tap podcast, and here you go. We finally are back and recording again. We know we took a month off. Sorry, holidays. We both work in the service industry, so you got to cut us some slack. Cody's got a newborn. We're back. That's all you need to worry about. So you're sitting in with one of your hosts, Matt, and I'm sitting in with my brother Cody. So go ahead and tell the people something, Cody.
Compliments to that pop in the top and that slurp, man. That was I don't even think you could have freaking taken that off of an audio recording from somewhere and that could have came out any better. But yeah, I'm excited to be back, man. Excited to be talking some sports. It's been too long. I'm also excited that we get to dive into some NBA action.
Again. I mean, it seemed like it just ended, right?
I know, really. Well, that's crazy just because, the draft was so late. So all of a sudden you go straight draft, like small training camp, preseason. We're ready to go on the 22nd. Let's get KD going against the Dubs again. The Battle of LA, your town now. So I'm excited. I mean, maybe like LeBron and some of the little pansy NBA players aren't excited because they need a longer break. But I think the rest of us are ready to go. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see some of them young new faces. James Wiseman for the Warriors. We haven't got to see him yet because of the COVID protocols. So I'm excited just to see him in general. That's our favorite team. It's been kind of cool watching. It's been kind of weird too. Like, man, when you watch LaMelo Ball, do you just sit there and at least for me, I watch his games right now and I'm like, do these fools literally is Lonzo just playing for the Charlotte now? They legit do everything exactly the same. They look the same, their height's the same, their body, the way they pass, even their shooting form. I didn't realize since Lonzo switches a little bit is literally identical to LaMelo's.
Well, when he was little, he always had to cock it from the shoulder, but now he's kind of, he got a little bigger, a little stronger. I think he can finally shoot the ball normal.
Yeah, well, he's on LeVar's weightlifting program, bro. So you knew he was gonna bulk up. You know what I mean? That guy's still a clown. But yeah, so I'm excited, man. So we figured why not? Let's do a little bit of an NBA show, and we'll probably maybe get back into football because we know that's a heavy swing of things getting closer to postseason time. College football, maybe even, man, the playoff format for all that is looking like, man, you just slap an asterisk on this one, literally, unless Alabama wins it, then I'm like, all right, I'm fine with that. But legitimately,
they're the best team, if you ask me. I mean,
but legit, dude, there's the Big Ten is doing everything in their power to get Ohio State into the playoff. These fools have played 5 games, you know, and then they weren't even eligible for their conference championship. So then they changed the rule to make them eligible to kick them out. And I'm like, dude, this is a joke. I was looking earlier and I saw USC had a 60% chance to make the college football playoff. And I'm like, dude, they're 5-0 and the Pac-12 is literally a trash dumpster fire, And
it's not good. I agree 100% with you on that. And and a disclaimer before, there's also a little curveball for you, but this show, and I think all the shows going forward, I'm just sorry, from now on I'm gonna have to click the explicit button because I have had to edit too many times our adult content. So if you're under 18, you have to go and ask your parents. You need parental guidance from now on, because even though we won't be dropping F-bombs and all that stuff, there will be some occasional adult content. And I know I didn't tell you this before the show, but I want to let you know, when you dropped the pansy on LeBron, I started thinking, I was like, oh yeah, I meant to bring this up before.
So we're allowed to talk about that dumbass Marco Wilson for the Florida Gators. Who throws a shoe? Who throws a freaking shoe?
Honestly, man, who throws a shoe?
Lord. I mean, the Florida's defense is a joke anyways this year. They call it third and Grantham. I'm calling it freaking third and you out the door, boy. They need to get him fired. But man, I don't know, whatever. I had to get that one out. But yeah, so let's go jump back into the good stuff.
The U lost too, by the way, last week. So it was just a bad week for both of our teams anyway.
Since if any of y'all can't see it, listening on the podcast,
North Carolina Glass
ready to go right now. North Carolina boys setting records against Miami. They straight that running attack was just something else against Miami, and they had no answer. That was literally the definition of, when you just say that's a good old basically ass whooping. Literally, Mac Brown was like, Manny Diaz, I made you. You were my coordinator. He's like, you're the reason why you're getting jobs. And he's like, he abused everything that Manny Diaz maybe told Mac Brown what he likes to do on a scheme on defense. Mac Brown knew because he ran all over them.
Yeah. All right. Well, your guy threw a shoe, and that's why you lost. So I'll take my day all day, okay, rather than that boneheaded mistake. But anyway, this is an NBA day. We'll leave college football for next year, I think, because to be honest with you, like you said, I'm not thrilled with what's going on. Alabama, if they win, that's who should win. If anybody else wins, I will put an asterisk by it, honestly. Even so, it's just like all these teams playing 4 or 5 games to get into this thing's just ridiculous. So with that said, we'll get into the NBA. You brought up LaMelo Ball earlier, which is great. You know, you said LeVar's workout plan. It's more like Kanye's workout plan, I swear. It's come on, man. This thing's all a joke to me. And as far as LaMelo, though, he looks great. I think that, like you said, it's very, very similar to what you see with Lonzo. He does a lot of similar things. I would say I'd give Lonzo the slight edge in shooting. I'd give LaMelo the slight edge in passing. Other than that, I think they are pretty much mirror images of each other. But that brings up a great point because the draft was fun. I think this draft, not having as much talent, we talked about that a million times, not being, as good as a draft. I've actually been pleasantly surprised with what I've seen so far. And I think that maybe we were not underselling players, but I do think that there is some talent coming from this draft. And with that in mind, I think we always want to talk about awards, and we'll get into more of them as the show goes on. But I would love to talk about the rookies right now. And do you have a front runner for the Rookie of the Year award? Since we're talking LaMelo, is he the guy, or you got somebody else?
I mean, it's like I said, I'm really curious to see what Wiseman like, because I can't just say James Wiseman right now for the Warriors, just because I haven't seen him at all. He hasn't got a suit up yet, so that is. I think he's kind of like the wild card in this whole thing because if the Warriors decide to commit and just be like he's a starting center and give him like 25, 30 minutes a run, I do legitimately think that he's going to be able to, score maybe 12, 14 points, grab 10 boards, and probably get a couple block shots. I think he'll be a defensive game changer. Other than that, I don't know. I was kind of looking at I was watching a Okoro play the other night, the kid out of Auburn, who went to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Cavs are kind of one of those teams that kind of sometimes that like when you're on one of those, kind of weaker rebuild younger teams,
Yeah.
you tend to get more run, and he kind of does everything well. And he looks like he improved his jump shot a little bit where I was like, dang, like this dude might actually like completely fill out the stat sheet and be someone that looks pretty legit. I've been impressed with Obi Toppin, honestly.
Yeah, let me get one. Come on, man. You're taking them all. I mean, come on, man.
Well,
shoot.
it's hard to.
Wiseman, Obi Toppin, Okoro. I mean, shoot, can I get in here? Dang.
Yeah. I'll let you take over for Obi then, because
my point was the reason I was so excited. I was like, oh, perfect. He went Okoro, who was someone that I was thinking about, but I was like, for the same exact reason as I had Obi Toppin, and it wasn't because I don't think Obi Toppin's going to be the best in this class. I don't think he's going to have the best career, but he plays on the Knicks. He's going to get the run. He's going to get the opportunities. I think that he's showed well, but if you're asking me, he's 24 or something like that. He should be a third or fourth year veteran in the NBA already. And so he was the most developed. He's playing on a bad team, so he's going to get a ton of run. He's probably going to be the guy unless LaMelo stays on the track. Because honestly, LaMelo, the way he's looking is he's going to fill up the stat sheet. I mean, you're talking the guy that could easily average about a double-double. And if he can put any rebounds together, I mean, for a rookie, that's something most rookies don't do. So, I mean, you could see that, but Obi Toppin, you made a great point about Cleveland. That was my point with him is he's going to get the run. The Knicks are terrible. I mean, face it, they didn't do anything to help themselves again, and they just really haven't gotten any better. So I think he's going to get a ton of run. And I've been on record telling people I think Obi Toppin actually won't have that great of a career. Personally, I think he was a player that would get drafted much later in other years, and I think that based in the circumstances, he went top 10. And I don't even see him being a top 10 pick, but I do see him filling up the stat sheet, being so old, so experienced, and on a bad team. So that's why I was at Obi. But if you want to, I'm sure you have somebody else that you were also in mind, because you were going down Okoro, Toppin. I think do you have anybody else, or who's your guy? Because if I'm taking Toppin for sure, I'm taking Toppin.
You're saying you're taking Toppin for sure as your Rookie of the Year?
I'm taking him as the rookie of the year because he's going to get that run. And like I said, he's probably, I mean, like he's 24. I mean, he's as old as Andrew Wiggins. I mean, if he's not getting rookie of the year, I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, I would like if they decided to, I don't know, just say like if later on, like if at some point if they maybe pulled the trigger on like a Julius Randle trade and he went out the door, I would just be like, oh, I think this is
Done
Toppin's
deal.
award to lose right now. Uh,
Right.
I don't know. I like Anthony Edwards is starting for Minnesota, like at the two guard
Too
spot.
much ball hogging with
Yeah.
Russell.
Well, and they
And
have I believe Rubio is going to come slot in
yeah,
there and
I just
kind
don't
of.
think he's going to get enough touches.
No, I agree. That's why I was like, I kind of left him alone. I wanted to be Wiseman really bad because I'm a Warriors
Obviously,
fan,
we do.
but I really like. I think Marquise Chris, what I've seen from him early in the I was going to say summer league, no summer
Preseason.
league, preseason. Um, I think he deserves enough run where I don't know if Wiseman's going to get those. Like, I think they'll probably play him, how the Warriors do, where he starts the game but plays only like 6 minutes in that first quarter, then only a couple minutes in the second quarter. I think they're going to bring him along slowly and only get like 20 minutes a game. So for me, I honestly do think, for me personally, it looks like LaMelo Ball is kind of the favorite. I think he's going to stuff the stat sheet. I think it's going to be big time. I'll just throw out a real sleeper because we're kind of how we're talking about trash bag sort of team. The Detroit Pistons, they ended up with like 3 or 4 rookies, I believe, on their roster. And Sadiq Bey, how we're kind of talking about kind
Hmm.
of older guys who came from an older culture from Villanova. I think he has a real shot maybe because Detroit is kind of like making a whole bunch of moves. I think they're finally committed to just like, hey, we're not good and
Rebuild.
we'll just
Yeah.
rebuild. And so we're going to play all of our young guys. And then Blake Griffin will just get hurt again. So we really will play all of our young guys.
And
Uh,
if he's healthy, he'll be traded. Derrick Rose will be traded at the
yeah.
deadline.
And
That's
so I
what's
can,
going to happen.
so that'll be my sleeper. I'll say a guy like Sadiq Bey, where maybe I think he ended up like technically was like the 18th pick in the draft or something like that. So
Right.
just
With
kind
his
of
trades and stuff.
someone later on. So he's just kind of someone I feel could I guess I'll call it my sleeper surprise sort of rookie of the year pick. So if it's not LaMelo, I'll go Bay.
All right. No, I like that. I always try to find out who the Donovan Mitchell is of every year now, because that's kind of what I always compare it to. Is
There's gonna be somebody.
there's always somebody, So, and then you look at what Donovan Mitchell gets paid now. Jeez Louise. And that's perfect segue, because if you're talking about who's getting paid, I'll tell you who's getting paid, and that's Mr. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak, if you will. And so he signs the max deal, super max. I think the biggest money of full contract of all time, and love it. We all love it. I think you love it. I love it. It's pretty obvious that it's great. We always love guys with loyalty and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, does this like solidify that Milwaukee's going to win a title in the next 4 years for you, or 5 years, or however long he's going to be? I think he's going to opt out after 4. Does it solidify it for you, or is it just one of those things where it's like, yeah, this is great, but they still have some work to do?
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, to quote a great movie in Big Daddy, and Giannis has a 5-year plan. What is it? Don't die. Sorry, that was for the old guy with the old balls. But
Hey, I don't think we say that, buddy. I think we call them testicles.
but we'll jump back into Giannis. I First of all, I just love it. I think there's just so many guys that want to leave those small market teams and jump to the big market because they think it's going to do so much for their brand and everything like that. Well, guess what? Giannis, with how he is with Nike, with how he is internationally, with how he is as his figurehead and winning multiple MVPs, Defensive Player of the Year, Giannis already has his brand, dude. And I respect the fact that he's like, no, I'm that good. I'll get this done in Milwaukee.
I just bought a freak shirt. So what does that tell you? Okay, I'm in LA. I bought a freak shirt. Okay,
Yeah.
it says freak. Tiffany's like, why does it say freak on it? My girl, why does it say freak? Like they're gonna think you're a freak. I'm like, no. This is for the Greek freak. All right. So you can get your brand out anywhere nowadays with the social media world. Okay.
Don't wear it. Tiffany's just trying to tell you not to wear it around the other ladies.
Yeah. Right. No.
But so I think that I think he is going to win a title. I think that the Milwaukee ownership group have proved to him that legitimately, even if it hasn't always been the right move, they kind of, committed the money to, well, obviously to now to Giannis, but they made that big commitment to Chris Middleton, gave him a max contract. They gave Eric Bledsoe a huge contract during the time frame. I think we all saw that it should have the money should have gone to Malcolm Brogdon, just match, his deal. Then we might not have even had to worry about that Drew Holiday trade and everything like that.
Which is great, though.
But it's amazing. That means your ownership group is ready to step up to the plate and do whatever it takes for you. They try to sign Bogdanovich away from the Sacramento Kings,
right.
and he backed out of the verbal, and he ends up on the Hawks. Maybe that'll be a sleeper move we'll talk about later on for the Hawks. But I just think it's one of those things that if that sort of ownership group sits down with you, is honest with you, tells you, hey, we're here to we want to win, we're committed to winning, we want to win with you. And I think Giannis is that sort of superstar. And I think we've already seen guys like James Harden where it's like, no, I'll only accept a trade to the Brooklyn Nets, the Miami Heat, or maybe the Sixers. And it's like, okay,
I got news for him though. He doesn't even have a no trade clause in his contract. I'm pretty sure though.
No, but it's a typical power move of what NBA players do now. It's like Anthony Davis. Well, I want to get traded, but only to the Lakers. And it's like,
yeah, but I'm like, if I was the team, I'm trading him. He has years on his contract. Trade him, do what's best for the team.
But I mean, that's one of those things though, where it's like, I get what you're saying. I completely get what you're saying. But are you gonna trust a guy where he's like the Santa Claus and like I gained 45 pounds in a week? Like,
I don't know. And the thing is, too, the team that gets him, it would be the problem is because if he's not going to re-sign, you're renting a guy, so you'd be a contender. The problem is all the contenders don't want to give up pieces, so it's dumb. I mean, I would say Brooklyn has the best chance with the pieces they have.
So here's what I figured. So we'll go into a little bit of a trade talk.
Oh yeah, sorry. We moved on to Harden. Giannis, we love it. That's all you need to know.
We love it. We love it, Giannis. I respect you so much. You're already
ownership. Great job.
Great job. You're one of my favorite players in the league already, but I think you're just proving more and more to everybody that you are the real deal. You're the Greek freak, and I really do hope that you do get that title. Honestly, I hope you get it this year because the Warriors aren't going to be good enough to win it. So I'm rooting for you, bud. But so
come back, baby.
But so if we're talking about a guy like James Harden, and I brought up the Milwaukee Bucks where he said, well, I would approve a trade to the Bucks. And it's because like a guy like Giannis, because James Harden knows James Harden is not a playoff performer. He's not a championship player. He needs to join somebody that is that. And I think that was his appeal to Kevin Durant and Kyrie and that sort of thing is James Harden. I think as probably as cocky and everything that he is, I do think he's realized like I don't get this done. You know what I mean? Like I just don't. And so he's a great regular season performer, so he can get you regular season wins, but that's about it. And so if if Milwaukee goes, they're not going to get rid of Drew Holiday because he has his contract's up after this year and they just traded for him. But a guy I did just talk about who they gave a max level contract to, and Chris Middleton, who is a very good player. He's an all-star. And that is something that Houston would at least have to look at, where it'd be like, okay, so now we're getting an all-star in return. And so, and we compare him up with, we just made a John Wall trade. We signed DeMarcus Cousins. We kept PJ Tucker. So if all of a sudden Chris Middleton's on your roster, Houston's still in a mix of competing. You know what I mean? And you know how I'm never a person that says you should be that middle of the road type team that doesn't have a chance.
That's where it puts them though.
And that does frustrate me. But for me, I'm like, I don't know if that's Houston's goal, just to keep the fans happy. It is what it is. Because you make a trade then of, you get a Chris Middleton, you get a Dante DiVincenzo, who's, young and
that's
pretty.
What I was going to say. No, the pieces is the problem. You get that all-star, but the problem with a team like Milwaukee, that's why I say Brooklyn is the only team that makes sense to me, because you get Spencer Dinwiddie, you make sure that you go out there and that you get what's his name from Michigan? Why am I blanking on his name?
Karis
LeVert, thank you. You get LeVert, okay? And at least you have two guys that I think could be potential all-stars and probably already are, as far as the way they play if they're healthy. And you get two, and then you also take Dang, man, my
I want,
brain on
I
Brooklyn
want,
is just messed
I
up.
want to say,
Allen, sorry.
I'm trying to get Jared Allen out as well.
Allen, there you go. Thank you. So you have three young guys that are all potential. That's the trade I'm looking for, or a bad team with draft picks. The problem with Milwaukee is you get one All-Star, and then you get draft picks that are in the 30s because Milwaukee always has the best record or one of the best records. So it doesn't bode well for rebuilds, because that's while you're saying you're a middle of the road treadmill team that just keeps going in the middle, that's where you'll be at with just Chris Middleton,
I think
So
I
it's
think I
not
was
great.
I think I was just comparing it to where because I was like I felt like if Brooklyn wanted to make the trade, they would have made the trade already.
Oh,
Everything was
you heard the
kind of laid
price
out.
tag though. The price
Yeah,
tag Houston is asking for is just
but
ridiculous.
but like I like Ben Simmons. I think me and you probably even like Ben Simmons more than
More
even the
than most.
average person.
Yeah.
But for Philly right now, I heard they want Ben Simmons and 3 future first round draft picks. I mean, that's not really the craziest thing in the world. If you put James Harden on the Sixers, that means those are going to be crummy draft picks as well. Between
Yeah.
James Harden, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid, they're going to be a very good
Top
team
four
in
in
the
the
East.
East.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at where I'm like, so certain packages aren't that crazy. And I heard Brooklyn wasn't willing to give up Jared Allen. They only were willing to do Dinwiddie and LeVert with draft picks. So that's kind of why it was losing a little bit of steam as well. And it's true
Right.
because if I'm Brooklyn, I'm not making that trade either. I'm not giving up all those assets.
I'll give up
for James
one
Harden.
first round and those 3 picks, but I'm not giving. They
Yeah.
probably want 2 or 3 first rounders, even though they're late. It's just like it's just assets.
Yeah, for me it's honestly, and I know you hated the idea of it before, and I know we were talking about teams who are close that could make this trade, but like just it's like why do it? It is like a team like the Warriors though. The Warriors have the most assets if you think about it. You know what I mean? Because you have Andrew Wiggins' contract, you have James Wiseman, who's very highly looked at across the NBA board. You have Minnesota's draft pick that's only top 3 protected for next year that's looked very highly around the league. And then honestly, I don't know if the Warriors are going to be amazing this year. I don't even know if they'll sneak into the playoffs this season. And so their draft pick is really actually a pretty good draft pick at that point as well. And so I'm not, and if I'm the Warriors, I'm not giving all that up, but I'm just saying, so there is teams, I was you had mentioned, a team, that Anthony Davis left, the team like New Orleans, where you could throw in like an Eric Bledsoe to make the money work. And then if you just wanted to, if you were like, James Harden's our guy, he's taking us over the top, you could trade Brandon Ingram. You know what I mean? Like, and that would be something
James
to think
Harden
about.
to me is not the guy that puts anyone over the top that isn't like, already a team with a chance. Like we're already talking about Milwaukee, who I think's got a shot. We're talking about Brooklyn, who I personally think has a shot, as is. I think the Lakers have a shot. You know what I mean? The Warriors, like you said, is the only team to me right now that I think they're actually going to make the playoffs, even though you said you think they're going to scrape by maybe make it. I personally think the Warriors are going to be better than a lot of people think. And so even that, though, I don't think it pushes them over the top. Even with Harden and Curry, you're talking about 2 MVPs. He's just the kind of guy to me that like deserves to be on a bad team and just drop 40 a night. I thought he was that missing piece in Oklahoma City. And the more I think about it, I'm like, I think that was his one time where maybe he was the missing piece. Westbrook, and Durant and him, maybe that was his time. And maybe it passed, man. Because to be honest with you, everywhere he goes just seems to be good enough to win. And they just don't. They just don't win.
Yeah.
I mean,
players don't want to play with him. They literally like if I think
who would want to?
I think over the last few years, like, because people have said before, like Chris Paul isn't the greatest teammate in the world. He more so thinks of, other stuff. He's not one of the players. And then you have like Russell Westbrook, who's not looked at as always like the greatest teammate. He's kind of a ball hog, this sort of stuff. Those guys couldn't get out of Houston fast enough. You know what I mean? They're willing to play one season to see how it goes with them getting out. And I also think, and I know this could sound really dumb to people, a sign for me is if you ever notice when they're picking the all-star teams now, the past couple seasons where they take captains, James Harden is literally like, besides maybe like a Kemba Walker or I forget who it was the other year, he's literally like the last pick off the board for anybody to draft with because none of those superstars. Giannis flat out is like, I don't want him on my team. He won't give me. I want the ball. You know what I mean? Where I'm like,
he said that. He literally
said it out loud. So it's like if he doesn't want him in an all-star game, why the hell would he want him freaking and to play with him in real and for real ball? I honestly think the best thing for James Harden would be to just to play with John Wall this season, play with DeMarcus Cousins, have some fun. He'll be able to take his billion shots again, be in the MVP race, and that's just that. I think that's James Harden's career, and just accept that and go party in Vegas and do what you want to do, bro. Because I don't
Well,
think you're.
because if he wants to win, he has to change. Period. I mean, that's just it's just you get to a certain point where with him in particular is like you have to change. I mean, you can't be a guy that tries to score 35 points a game. You know, it very rarely does that work out for anybody. It worked out for Michael Jordan because he's the greatest of all time. Okay, and it worked out.
He's incredibly efficient. Michael
Yeah,
Jordan,
and then it worked out for David Robinson, who was, if you go back and look at that guy's MVP season, wow! I looked at it a couple weeks ago, and I was playing a video game, and I was like, oh, let's just look at the wow, average like 34 and 14, and he shot like 60%. So I'm just saying, there's certain guys, like you said, efficiency and all that comes into play that can score 35 a game and still, give you a chance to win. But I just think that personally, you have to be willing to make sacrifices. I don't know if he is, and I know a lot of stuff's going around right now. He's like the new Dennis Rodman, which don't get me wrong. Rodman was a guy that go to Vegas, party it up for, he'd go out, stay until 5 a.m. for 2 days, show up and grab you 40 rebounds. I love a guy like that. He's just a great story. But if I'm being honest with you, if you're supposed to be, the difference is Dennis Rodman had Michael Jordan. You know what I'm saying? James Harden is not. He can't be Dennis Rodman. He can't be the third guy. He can't be Scottie Pippen. Then him. Exactly. He has to be Michael Jordan, which means you need to smoke a cigar in your bedroom. Do whatever you need to do with the nightlife, but then at the end of the day, man, you can't be the guy that's staying out till 5 a.m. You have a cigar, go to the gym the next day, and absolutely drop 40 points on shooting the ball 25 times. You can't shoot 40 times. Okay, that's just how it is.
Yeah, for sure.
So with that, being said, I think we've brought up so many big names too today. I mean, we're talking Giannis. We are talking James Harden. I think we've brought up Durant being back and we talked about the Lakers with the LeBron, and we've already brought up rookie awards. And so I'm going to go first. I'm going to take this one real quick, and then I'll let you jump in because I want to talk about who we think the most valuable player this season will be. We've talked James Harden, like I said. We've talked Westbrook. We've talked previous MVPs like crazy. Giannis, 2-time MVP. We talked about him for 10 minutes. Let's friggin' talk about who we think the most valuable player is going to be. And I promise everybody, I'm not doing this out of any kind of loyalty or anything. Steph Curry is going to win the most valuable player this year. I'm projecting the Warriors to be a 5th or a 4th seed in the West. The only way they do that is if Steph drops 29 points a game, 9 assists, and 6 rebounds. That is going to be a stat line that puts him right back in that talk for MVP. He always grabs 2 to 3 steals a game, 2.5, I think. And I will just tell you, the game that he is going to put on this season, he's rocking the cornrows. He's out there doing his thing, okay? I'm telling you, the guy will be back. The roster is a lot better than I think. I don't think people realize how good Kelly Oubre can be. I think he has to fall in line with the game plan because, honestly, the Warriors play this, no hero basketball. And sometimes I feel like Oubre falls into that he's got the only guy on the court kind of a thing, and it annoys me. But, dude, the guy actually, besides the fact that he's not great man-to-man defense, he puts up monster defensive stats. He's one of the best small forward shot blockers in the NBA behind Bridges, who he also played with in Phoenix, by the way. And he also averages like almost 2 steals a game. So I think everyone's sleeping on him a little bit he's going to be
so long. He's so long. He literally has like a 7. Exactly. It's like a 7-foot wingspan for being like 6'6". It is true.
He is going to be a huge game changer defensively that I don't think people are really thinking about, because literally besides Steph, they're literally going to be able to switch every single thing. And it's going to look amazing out there with Wiggins, with Oubre, with Draymond, with Wiseman. They are so long. They're so athletic, defensively minded on 3 of those guys. it really makes me feel good. Even Wiggins is a strong enough defender where I feel good about it. Steph, again, he's a steal guy, so you're going to see that. It looks sexy on paper. In reality, he's not the best on-ball defender, just like Oubre. But I'm telling you, man, they're going to surprise some people. Steph is going to go out there, and I already saw him drop 29 on Tuesday, and I just started seeing like, man, you know what? Without Clay, the problem is he's always yielded to these superstars. He's always yielded to Kevin Durant. He always yielded, any chance that he got because he's a team player. This year, which I was almost thinking about saying it last year, but I just thought they were going to be bad, to be honest with you. I think this year he understands that he has to be the guy. He has to be 2015 unanimous MVP Stephen Curry. And I think he understands that. And what I've seen in the preseason, I think he gets it. And to be honest with you, I'm just not going to be surprised if the guy goes out there, drops 29 a game, 10 assists. I'm serious. And that stat line right there puts you right in the argument for it. And if you just add a couple steals, he's one of the best rebounding guards there is in the league. And man, he's looking good with them cornrows. I'm telling you, man, he looks ready, bro. He looks ready. And I'm taking him. I don't care.
Well,
It has nothing to do with me being a fan. I just think it's the right situation, honestly.
My only maybe question for you is, you said he's only going to drop 29 a game. I mean, you said you watched him play against Sacramento the other night. I'm pretty sure he dropped 29 points in like 6 minutes. So I think I actually think he's going to average 30 or more this year. I do think.
That's
I
fine.
think
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you my thinking behind it is this: as good as I'm trying to hype up the defense, literally Wiggins and Oubre want to play offense, period. So they're going to get it sprinkled in there. Steph has never been a guy. He's one of the guys that's in the illustrious 50, 40, 90, 50 field goal, 43, 90 foul shooting, but he doesn't get a ton of free throws. If he was one of those guys that just got a ton of free throws, Giannis, James Harden, if he was one of those guys, I would say mark him down for 34. The problem is he doesn't go to the line as much as you'd want, especially with him shooting so well. You would hope he'd be at the line every single 20 times a game, but it's not. He isn't. And those guys that score a lot of points, they shoot a lot of foul shots, and he doesn't. So that's why I'll say 29 to be safe. I personally agree with you. I think he has the potential to be a 32 or 33 kind of guy. But also, yeah, he scored 29 in 28 minutes on Tuesday. Okay. He'll have those games. I remember I watched him at Staples Centers against the Clippers drop 55 in 3/4. Okay. He probably could have scored 70 that night. He was absolutely amazing. But they're not going to be, and again, they're not going to be like that. That was a championship Warriors team where they were just blowing people out, and he didn't even play fourth quarters. So I'm sure that will help him in the long run. But
he's going to get a couple extra minutes here.
But that's what I'm saying. He'll have those nights where he scores 40, even 50 a couple times. But in my opinion, on most nights, he'll be between 25 and 30, and that'll average out over a 72-game season. So that's why I'm at 28, 29 points a game.
Yeah, no, obviously I love Steph. He's my favorite player in the league. I think he's going to have a monster year as well. Knock on wood. Hopefully he's healthy. And I started thinking, I was being hard on the Warriors earlier, where I was like, they're not even going to make the playoffs. This or that. They might. I do see them, but I see them more sneaking in. I think they're going to have to be like an 8 seed, 7 seed, something like that. But in the Western Conference, that's not. You're going to have a great record at that point. That's nothing to look down on, honestly. But so. Honestly, the boring answer is Giannis. Like, legitimately.
Yeah, I know.
I know we talked about him earlier, but it's going to be Giannis. Their team is getting Drew Holiday, is made them, basically Drew Holiday now instead of Eric Bledsoe. So I think they're better as far as they're more equipped now. As far as their, Brook Lopez is still there. You still have Chris Middleton. So you always have to have a good record. So check that off the box. He's the big name. He's back-to-back MVP already. He's only improved every single year so far, you know what I mean, in the league. So why am I to sit here and not say he ups his percentage on his 3-point shot by a couple percent? And it's honestly, if he made a couple more free throws, he legitimately, the dude's stat line would be 35 points a game, 12 rebounds, whatever. So I guess I'll keep it short, man. I think honestly, the boring answer is Giannis. And I'd almost more so be surprised if he didn't win it again. Like, you can look at guys like LeBron and Kawhi and Luka, Steph Curry.
Luka's got a shot, though.
He does. I just don't think their team's going to be good enough. I don't see it.
True.
Porzingis doesn't stay healthy enough, and they just don't get the record. I think you have to be one of the top couples. In my opinion, the top couple seeds in basketball to win it, and that's why I think right away you're going to put kind of Giannis and LeBron, like Anthony Davis, those sort of guys, Kawhi, like right near the top. And for me, Giannis, I think it's an easy choice. I was almost gonna say I should give like some sort of dark horse sort of thing or something, but so I'll say a guy if they can kind of figure it out and if Kemba can stay healthy, like I'll say a dark horse is Jason Tatum. Maybe he could at least sneak in to put himself in the level of getting some votes. I liked what he was doing in the playoffs last year in the bubble and the stat line he was putting up. So that'll just be a guy. I know he's not going to win it, but I think he's going to enter the conversation now. Um, do you I know we didn't really talk about this, but since we're kind of talking about awards and other things like that, it doesn't necessarily have to be most improved player, but do you have anyone that you think is going to make like I've arrived sort of thing, like he's all of a sudden going to be like that first time all-star, like maybe all NBA selection, a dude that is kind of one of those younger guys that all of a sudden everybody like, oh, he's on the map, he's arrived. Do you have anybody this year?
Yeah. So I was thinking about this earlier, and I don't know if it's so much that he's arrived. Okay, he's already arrived. Okay, but if you're talking about most improved, in the sense that I think we were having in the MVP conversation, I think he could even have his name mentioned in this. A guy that hasn't, in the past, dude. I think Devin Booker is ready to be that guy. I think Devin
I thought that's
Booker.
who you were gonna say, but I wasn't sure.
I think he's gonna be that guy. I mean, I literally think Devin Booker takes a step where he was like a borderline, all-star, 3-point shootout kind of a guy. To I think Phoenix will be good. Maybe not bubble good. I mean, they didn't lose in the bubble. Obviously, they're not gonna go 72-0. But I personally think that I think Booker's gonna start getting mentioned as far as most valuable player kind of a guy.
Yeah.
And that's a big step for somebody who's already good. Man, his game in the bubble was just ridiculous, and I think
Yeah.
we saw a lot of what we could possibly see. Although the bubble was a little shaky for me in the sense that it was a pretty controlled environment. It's a lot different when you're playing a regular season,
Mhm.
flying around and all this stuff. But
Mhm.
man, he just looked like to me like he was going to take that turn and be in that upper echelon, honestly. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's who I'm seeing taking that little step for him, but it'll be a big step if you look at it on paper. So,
So
did you have someone?
yeah, I'm gonna go. So it's sneaky. So I'm gonna just because I feel like it'd be too much of a cop out to say this guy. I mean, I guess they're both kind of cop outs, so I can't lie. Um, I was gonna say Zion. I think
Oh
Zion.
shoot, I forgot about him. Jeez.
I think Zion is gonna be an all star and put up 25 and 12 type numbers and be blocking shots and
Right there with
be a,
you.
be a
Might win
type
an
of.
MVP talk,
That's what I mean. I
honestly.
think he could
Guy's
end up.
that good.
I think if New Orleans handles it right and Brandon Ingram plays at that same level and Lonzo takes the next step and Eric Bledsoe's at least a decent if things work out for them, I literally think Zion could be the MVP in the
Just
MVP
missing
conversation.
Mirotic, man. They're just missing
Yeah.
Mirotic. I
Yeah,
swear.
for real. Just come back from España. Um, but so this guy kind of it's almost you mentioned Devin Booker. It was kind of one of those things that you were really impressed with the bubble last year. I think that Jamal Murray for the Denver Nuggets
Yeah, that's
is.
true.
I think he kind of. That's why I said it's kind of a cop out because he kind of arrived last year in the bubble, and he had people talking like, "Dude, this guy might be like on a Steph Curry level right now." And just
He was great.
with how creative is with the ball, how he passes, how he shoots it, the type of playmaker he is. And so legit, but he's still, he hasn't been an all-star. I don't think he's ever been really mentioned in really those conversations of the superstar potential guys, that are the next up
Right,
and
right.
comers. And that's why, it is a little bit, like I said, it's a little bit of a cheat because of what he did in the bubble. Because
50,
I
like,
wouldn't have,
3 times.
I wouldn't have mentioned him right now if it wasn't for what he did last year, in the
Right,
bubble in the
right, right,
playoffs.
right.
And but I think he's going to carry that over, and I think he just hit this whole different confidence stride and this whole new peak of level in his game. And I think Jamal Murray is going to be a force to be reckoned with this season.
Yeah. I think there's a ton of guys that we could talk about in this category. I mean, obviously, I think I like to call him Foxy Boxing, but De'Aaron Fox,
Yeah,
I think he's
he's
right there on the
got his new haircut. He's even faster than before, man.
he's
Like,
even faster. I think there's just so many. The NBA is just ripe with young talent. I think if Levine stays healthy, he's the kind of guy that you could talk about as like far as superstar potential coming out. But man, yeah, that Jamal Murray is a great pick, man. In the bubble, that guy was wow. I mean, he just really
he was
set the
special.
set
He
the
was
world on
special.
fire.
He was nice. He looked every part of an all-star, first, second, third team all NBA performer.
I agree.
Him and Donovan
I already think
Mitchell.
of Donovan Mitchell so highly.
Well,
I don't know if everyone else
and he's
does.
already been an all-star and everything like that. That's why I left him off.
Right, right.
I was just saying with what him and Jamal Murray did in that series going
That
back
series was
and forth
amazing.
was
Yeah.
where I was like, those are some young cats that the NBA is in a good place as far as young talent.
No, and I agree 100%. I'm mad at myself because I had someone else while you were talking. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna bury him with this one, and then I forgot. So, I'd just like to thank, well, before I forget, this is the reason I forgot, which is the drink that I'm having, which is the Hop Cloud hazy IPA. And it's brewed in San Diego. Let me see if I got a brewer, brewed in can in San Diego by Mike Hess Brewing Company. It is the Hop Cloud. Man, this is one of the best hazy IPAs I've ever had, though. I've never heard of it before. Look at this can. It's just like, it's such a sick can, dude. It's this weird guy just sitting here in the clouds. And
Nice.
that's what sold me on it. I bought it. I thought, well, this is interesting. It's just hops in a cloud. That's clever. I'll take it. I ended up taking a little sixer of it, and man, it's one of the best hazies though. And I'm not a huge hazy IPA guy, but dude, it's really, really good. So Hop Cloud, Mike Hess Brewing Company. If you're looking for your, dip your toe into the hazy IPA, maybe this is your chance. It's a 7%. So it's got a nice little kick to it, and yeah, that's what I'm drinking on. How about you?
Yeah, so I went cocktail status. I went with our seasonal favorite, brandy and eggnog.
Oh man,
Decided
classic.
to go with the classic. I went with a Corbel brandy. I know you tend to always end up getting a little
E&J,
E&J.
little Irk jerk, baby.
But yeah, I went with the holiday eggnog. I didn't realize how many different versions of eggnogs there were until I started looking at the store and got overwhelmed and just went with the one that said holiday. But yeah, so sipping on it, one of our favorites. It's super seasonal, makes you feel like the holiday season, Christmas, and so I'm enjoying it. I've actually put it on ice. I just like it to stay colder. I know other people don't do that, but yeah. So went cocktail today.
Awesome. That is a great move. I bought eggnog as well, but it's because my girlfriend loves to drink eggnog. Just plain, she doesn't drink alcohol, but she loves eggnog. So I always have to buy
There's
a
other.
lot of it because she drinks it before I can even get the brandy in it. So so I will try that again. But awesome. And yeah, you definitely should go with the E&J, dude. So the price is amazing. So go with that. We were talking, guys taking jumps. We've been talking MVP. We've been talking rookies, man. It's freaking time. It's time to talk about it. Talk about the real topic.
The real meat and potatoes, huh? You're going to
Do you
go
know
with.
do you know what it is?
I just think you're probably going to ask me like, who you got? Who you favoring this year to win the title?
Yeah,
Who's
there
winning
you
it
go.
all?
Okay. So we
Um,
got the first games coming up here in a couple days now. Almost, I think it's the early next week.
20
On
seconds.
the 22nd. All right. Well, first let's start with the Western Conference because we got the teams of LA. Are we looking at a Western Conference Finals in the first day of the season? I mean, if not, tell me who you got. But I mean, shoot, are we looking at it? I mean, this might be the Western Conference Finals if you're asking me. And I personally think that yes, Denver. Honestly, Denver surprised me a little. So your point you brought up about Denver Nuggets and Jamal Murray taking that next step. That's Jamal Murray. Yes, absolutely, I agree 100%. And you know what? I just thought before we jump into the teams that are the favorites, it just hit me who I was gonna say that was the big timer, and that is from Oklahoma City. I think the big step's gonna come from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah. Yeah,
All-star.
yeah.
I think it's the year, man. I don't know.
Just even with all of a sudden now he's the guy.
He's the guy.
But you also do have to figure. Just imagine he could have such an all-star year and have all these big time numbers. They're going to be so bad that it's, you know what I mean. It's just
I'm not
not.
talking MVP. I mean, they sometimes all-star votes though.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Like, I like it. I like him, and so that would be awesome if
Oh,
he,
he's such a good defender. I
yeah.
love good
But
defenders, man.
it's one of those things where, like, if there's just so many. Like we were just talking about, Jamal Murray's never been an All Star. Like Donovan Mitchell's on that level now. Steph Curry's coming back. Damian Lillard. There's just too many people on good. Luka Doncic. There's too many people on good teams in the Western Conference that play guard. That, you know what I mean. They'll just give the spot to over him just because he's not on a team.
Hater, man.
Not on a team
Hater.
that's gonna
I'm
win.
sorry, all my OKC fans out there. We got this guy who, unless you're Harden, Westbrook, or Durant, you get OKC. You're a nobody, apparently. Huh?
I think in 6 years, OKC is going to be a very, very good
6
team.
years, man. He's 5-year plan. You got a 6-year plan for OKC. Jeez, man. I'm gonna be almost 40 in 6 years. Get the hell out of here. Oh, jeez. Okay, we were talking.
They're gonna have all three of the Ball brothers at that point. That's
LeVar, even. They might even have LeVar.
That's how you put together a winning team.
All right. Well, we were talking teams that are going to win the West. We were talking, the sleeper, like I said, in Denver. Not a sleeper anymore. They surprised me in the bubble. I'll say they surprised me with how well they were, how they upset the Clippers. But on Tuesday we have the Clippers Lakers. Is that the Western Conference Final, or who do you got? Who's your favorite? Because I feel like maybe that's the final preview. No,
it's hard because everyone took Montrezl Harrell's loss for the Clippers as this huge loss. I actually think
you have a different take. On this.
I think they upgraded. I think Serge Ibaka is better. I think Montrezl Harrell he's a really good hustle player, but he's a stat sheet stuffer against weak competition. I think we saw when he went up against the upper echelon teams and he was in the postseason, Montrezl Harrell did nothing. Like, legitimately, he was not a valuable person on their roster.
Cody hated him at Louisville. That's what this is about. You hate him.
I'm
the dunker.
I'm just saying, like, go back and look at the tape, dude, where I'm like, he already doesn't have, like, a really great skill set. He does a lot of hustle things, which is great. Like, a lot of good teams have that hustle sort of guy.
Well, that's what the whole bench mob was in LA, though. I mean, the Clippers. You have Beverly hustle guy. You have Montrezl Harrell hustle guy. You didn't actually have that good of players. You just have guys that work hard on defense and guys that hustle and dunk. I mean,
Blue Buckets will tell you something different.
Oh, God. Yeah, but I mean, come on, that's a different story. Same book, different chapter.
I think they upgraded. I think Serge Ibaka is a better player. I think he's a better
defender.
Defender. He's way more skilled. He can shoot from the perimeter. I think they're better off. Did you hear Kawhi's text to recruit him? Did you hear about that? No.
Kawhi just texted him. He texted him, and it was just like, yo, you coming or nah? It's just like so Kawhi, right? Just
But so I do. So I will say. So I do think obviously Paul George needs to figure out himself mentally or whatever. But with Lou Williams back, Beverly's like you said, a good defender, that sort of thing. Kawhi's obviously a superstars, and then I really do like Ibaka.
Would you pay Beverly $50 million though, like they do?
No, hell no. He literally.
I knew that answer before I asked.
I'd literally rather have Patrick Beverly like playing overseas or something. I don't know. I just, I don't know. I want to
put him on a boat.
Honestly, I almost still like Denver more than the Clippers. I just don't. I don't see it. And then I will say I do.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say I will say I think if you're talking the LA teams, that sort of stuff, I do think LA with the additions they did make. Now I'm not. Now I think for them,
Lakers, you mean?
For the Lakers. Sorry, for the Lakers, I do think picking up Montrezl Harrell for them was a great addition for them. You know what I mean? Like that.
Well, their second unit was terrible.
Yeah,
I personally think their second unit sucked.
Yeah, I didn't see anything from them in a second unit. Now all of a sudden, I mean, I know he says he's going to start, and they've been starting him, but Dennis Schroeder. All of a sudden, he's there. Then you get Montrezl Harrell. I think I think Caldwell Pope was playing good basketball. They all like Caruso, and he's fine as far as a bench guy. But so I do think everyone was real excited about the Wes Matthews addition. Mark Gasol. I
He
don't.
did.
It
He
is.
really. Wes Matthews didn't do much for the Milwaukee Bucks last year. If people have with short memories, how much people want to remember people. Wes Matthews didn't do very much for that Milwaukee team. I'll just say that.
That's why I had some people, like I was saying before, they were super excited about the Wes Matthews and Marcus Gasol things, and I was like, those guys are done. Their career, there's nothing.
Gasol, man.
There's nothing left for those guys. The other two additions were great additions, and so I think the Lakers are cut above.
I know. I keep hearing. I keep seeing. Oh, the Lakers got stacked, bro, with like Gasol and Wes Matthews. I keep seeing that, and I'm like, dude, like, I'm sorry, but Marcus Gasol is about 5 years past, all-star Marc Gasol, okay? And like I'm even hearing chatter about Powell coming back.
They're trying to bring Powell back like at 40. Lord.
You're talking 2010 was when he won a title with them. That's 10 years ago, and he was already old then.
Those freaking
crazy to me.
Those big Spaniard knock-kneed brothers are their prime is 10 years. It was 10 years ago, and
it's over.
Yeah, so as far for Western Conference for me, I think the Lakers are honestly a cut above, and I think the Clippers are still gonna be really good, but like I said, I'm slotting them back down. I think Denver is gonna be better.
Who else though? Because I hear you say the Lakers. I hear who then? If it's not the Clippers, or is it the Clippers number 2? Who is it?
The Clippers aren't my 2. It's Denver. I said
Denver. Sorry. Denver, and then Clippers are 3. Then I'm just trying to figure out where you're ranking these people. I
could see Portland with a full season of Nurkic and having picking up Robert Covington. I could see Portland being slotting above the Clippers. I'm not saying they will. I could see them slotting up there.
What about Dallas adding Josh Richardson? You ain't got no love for them, huh? No, they were 6 last year. Adding Josh Richardson, you don't think they get a little 5-4 seed type thing?
Nah, it doesn't. It just doesn't get me off. Nope.
Okay, Harden and Walden at Houston. If Harden decides to actually play this year.
No, I think if anything,
I'm not saying 1 or 2. I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to see where your hierarchy is.
I think if anything, teams like the Warriors and like the possibly Phoenix, possibly even the Pelicans, Memphis, those teams are going to take a step up, and teams like Houston will no longer be a playoff team. You know what I mean? A team.
Oh, I love hearing that. I hate Houston.
OKC obviously traded away Chris Paul and Schroeder.
Steven Adams, who went to the Pelicans.
Yeah, and Steven Adams. Honestly, I mean,
best offensive rebounder I've maybe ever seen outside of Dennis Rodman. Honestly, the guy, great offensive rebounder.
They picked up Horford for him, kind of though, where that's kind of a wash for me. But you know what I mean? I don't think that.
I don't know. I don't know if it was Philly or if it's just Horford's career, but man, it was trending downward for me last year. Seeing him. I don't know if it's age or if I don't know if it's just situation, but I think we'll find out, really quickly if that's what's going on.
But so I think those are the few teams that if you just mentioned that we mentioned where I think those squads like Houston and OKC, sorry, I think they'll no longer be playoff teams, and then you're going to get teams.
What about like Minnesota? You got not even in the playoffs.
I honestly, I think Minnesota. I think they're going to be slotted right back where they just were. I don't see
really that bad, huh?
I don't see it. I think they're just so bad on defense that
so the Warriors have their pick. What is it? Top 5 protected or top 3?
I think it's only top 3 protected.
So the Warriors might end up with another top 10 pick next year, huh? Like top 5.
I think it's going to be slotted right around 5. I mean, realistically, if you look around the league.
But the thing is, I think Atlanta will be better. I think Golden State will be better. That's 2 of the teams. So if you're talking Minnesota's going to be the same, they might slot right into that top 3 kind of conversation.
Yeah, I think
someone has to be bad,
Yeah, well, I mean, but there are teams that are going to be bad. I think you still have.
I want to hear this before I get into mine. Who's going to be bad?
You still got Chicago. You still got the Knicks. The Knicks are going to be bad. Let's face it, they're in the Knicks. The Cleveland Cavaliers are going to be pretty bad.
True. Okay.
Honestly, the Detroit Pistons might be, like we mentioned. I think they're going to their only quality. They're going to be horrible. I think Charlotte. I know Gordon Hayward, LaMelo. I think there's going to be excitement, but I think they're still going to be bad. Yeah, I
Man,
don't know.
you're nailing them all, man. Yeah, I haven't disagreed with any of those ones that you're saying. Other than Chicago, man. Chicago kind of health wise. If Chicago's healthy in the East, I'm not saying they're gonna make the playoffs, but man, I could see them making a move up to like a 9-10 seed. You know what I mean?
I just think no matter what, like with their starting backcourt of Kobe White and Zach LaVine is going to be one of the funnest backcourts to watch. At least,
Dude,
I
and
know
I
that.
will say this: I watched Kobe White at North Carolina a lot, and I always thought he would be a serviceable pro. But watching him this preseason, I almost think Kobe White is going to be one of those kind of point guards, maybe not like Westbrook and like transcendent, but he's that 6'4" side, like 6'3", like he's a big guy. He's fast. He gets to the basket. Not the best shooter, man.
But he is a good shooter though. If you really think about it,
Well, he's
he
a
is
better
good
shooter than those guys. I mean, Pro 3, though, I don't know if he's that good of a shooter.
But he's still a pretty good shooter. I mean, he was a good 3-point shooter in college, and
Yeah,
I
but that's
think,
the college line. He's a
but he's
great
gonna,
3-point shooter, I think.
we always say like you're
What are
just
you
gonna
going to
keep
do?
improving,
Right?
you keep
What are you
improving
going to
yourself
do?
if anything. I think he just got knocked coming out of high school because people slept on him. He just literally he didn't quite go to the huge schools, and he stayed in North Carolina for his high school, and he's all-time leading scorer, and they kind of just labeled him as a guy who might not be able to play a true point guard. He's a combo guard, but like literally he's 6'4", but he's as fast as, you know what I mean. I'm not saying he's De'Aaron Fox or
Right, right, right.
that sort of thing, but he is in that level of that sort of speed and quickness. And that I think is something that just people really underestimated. I don't think they saw like literally what a freak athlete is. But then I don't know, maybe I'm completely wrong because what didn't Chicago take him like 6 overall? Where
Oh no, I think we all knew that he was a great talent. We got to watch him every week, and I think at Carolina, because we Carolina fans, we obviously knew how good he was. I still don't know if I thought it would transition so well. It's a Carolina point guards to me always scare me. You got the Ty Lawsons who had a short stint of excellence, and then you got the Kendall Marshalls who lead the league in assists one year and then they're out of the league the next. So Carolina point guards to me always will scare me a little bit. But if I'm being honest with you, when I saw what Kobe White could do, I thought he would be a very serviceable pro. I don't know if I thought he would be like a superstar. Man, I've watched him in 2 preseason games this year. I think he dropped 29 in the last one. Like, he literally looks like he is going to be one of those point guards that is tough to stop.
yeah,
And so he's one of those guys that I might think takes the next step this year that we talked about. Honestly, he has been good. And Zach LaVine being healthy, I don't know if the Bulls are going to be as bad as Wendell Carter stays healthy. Lauri Markkanen, we're talking about a young core, and that maybe on the 5-year plan, like we've talked about a couple times here. I think maybe they're on the 5-year plan, but man, they might not be as bad as we're thinking. But some of the other teams that you talked about are spot on. Just gonna be
yeah, we'll
bad.
see. Yeah, I mean, you never know. Like it could the Warriors were I'm not saying Steph Curry was going to make them a playoff team last year, but they weren't going to have the worst record in the NBA. You know what I mean? There's teams that literally are just that sort of injury away. If Zach LaVine goes down for Chicago, they're the worst team in the league. If Shea Gilgeous-Alexander goes down for OKC, they are the worst team in the league.
Right.
It's those are the teams I'm trying to pick out and find where they are just close to being on that borderline of like if Karl Anthony Towns is out for a significant amount of time, Minnesota Timberwolves are going to be the worst team in the league.
Terrible. They
But
might
yeah,
be anyway, to be honest with you.
all right.
I, I,
We could go back to the powerhouses though. If we don't have to keep.
Oh yeah, well let's talk about
our
the Eastern Conference because I think we've talked about the West. I think you said
do
Lakers are a cut
you,
above.
do you agree, kind of like as far as the West?
Yeah, I mean Lakers are a slight cut above for me at the sense that AD, LeBron a year older. I keep saying this every year though for the past 3 or 4 years. We'll see. I personally think that the Lakers aren't as good. All these people are like lining them up for a repeat, and I don't particularly agree with that, to be honest with you. I think there are better teams. I will say this also is that I just think the West is so tough. Anyone who comes out of the West probably has the best shot to win it. I don't care if it's Milwaukee or whoever else, coming out of the East, Miami. It doesn't matter. Whoever comes out of the West, that means you are probably the best team. honestly, because the West is so tough. It is just like there's just so up there. I would say that right now the Lakers to me are the best team. But if I'm being honest with you, I could easily see them slipping up. I mean, I know LeBron just basically is a finals machine, and he'll probably find a way to get them there. But dude, this bubble season's thrown me off a little bit. I just don't want to believe that they can do it that easily again. I think is the main thing. But I don't think any team has done enough for me to believe that they're the team either. So
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I'll agree with you a little bit. At the same time, I brought up some Eastern Conference teams. Obviously, Milwaukee always surprises me every year. I'm like, dude, Milwaukee's got a shot. Milwaukee don't got a shot. So is the Eastern Conference the same for you? Because I want to say it's Milwaukee this year. I do. I want to say it's Milwaukee. You add Drew Holiday, who is basically Eric Bledsoe, but a much better defender. You know what I mean? Like it's you have Chris Middleton, you re-sign him. I literally I think that this year is Milwaukee's year out of the East. And if I had to throw a second team out there, I would say it's the Boston Celtics. I know Miami's got all this stuff, got a lot of stuff going. I think they were bubble fortunate, to be honest with you. I don't think they're as good. Jimmy Butler, people want to talk like he's the best. I don't agree. I just don't see Jimmy Butler as, to me, an MVP kind of guy. I don't see him as like, the end all be all. Like if Jimmy Butler's on your team, you're going to the finals. I think Miami had a great run this year, but I don't think it's Miami's, you know, race to lose. I personally think it's Milwaukee, and I love other teams like Philly and stuff like that, but I think it's Milwaukee's race to lose again. As bad as that sounds, because they keep losing, but I think that's mine, Milwaukee.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I think Milwaukee. I like Bam. I like Jimmy Butler. I think Goran Dragic was playing at such a high level. I don't think we'll quite see that again for the Heat. But Tyler Harrell will probably continue to improve. But they lost pieces like Jay Crowder, that sort of stuff that I think will hurt them a little bit. I think Toronto losing Marcus Gasol doesn't matter. I think losing Serge Ibaka is just too massive of a loss. Philly, I just don't think ever will figure it out. With Ben
With
Simmons
this roster,
and Joel Embiid, they need to make a trade. So Milwaukee for me, I think is I think Drew Holiday is a missing piece for them to get him over the hump. If you were making me go away from that,
it's Boston though. It's
well,
Boston if it's not
I,
Milwaukee.
Kemba Walker's knee issues are making me a little bit worried, and let's not forget if the Brooklyn Nets, if Kevin Durant's Kevin
You're
Durant
right.
and
I forgot about him.
Kyrie's
You're right.
Kyrie, and rather they make the James Harden trade or they don't, or they hold pat with Levert and Dinwiddie. Like I love that depth. Joe Harris is an excellent piece. Torian Prince is a nice piece. It's DeAndre Jordan is a nice piece. The rosters. Brooklyn to me is the competition
You're
for
you're right. You're right.
Milwaukee. I think that's the next level. And then I'm just going to throw a team out.
The
I
New
always
York Knicks.
I'm gonna throw a team out, and for them, it's strictly health, and they've gotten so unlucky with health these last few years. And I think they showed a lot because they honestly got swept in the first round of the postseason this year, and everyone's like, "Whoa, there it goes again! Like they're just done. They should blow this thing up. Trade Victor
Indy.
Oladipo, trade this." Blah, blah, blah. But then we saw how good Miami was after that point, and everyone maybe could look back and be like, "Well, wait, Indiana didn't have their best player on the team in Sabonis. He didn't play in that series." And every game they were so competitive and right there with the Heat. And the Heat end up being the team that almost wins the NBA Finals. So all of a sudden, if you're like Malcolm Brogdon, Victor Oladipo, TJ Warren took his game to a whole different level. You get Sabonis back,
Monster.
Miles Turner. They have a few decent bench pieces. And I'm sitting there and I'm saying that's maybe like my a team as a 4 or 5 seeds right around that level in the Eastern Conference.
Basically what Miami
I
did
don't
this
want to
year.
see. Exactly. They could be the Miami all of a sudden,
Well,
Uh,
with Sabonis though, why are you gonna opt out? Now he's gonna play this year. Come on, man. If he was playing last year, dude, Indy had a shot.
no, I know. Yeah, I don't know. So you never know. I never would know what's going on in some of these guys' personal lives or whatever. So I don't know. But that's just a kind of a sleeper sort of pick for me when it comes to the Eastern Conference. But I think Milwaukee and Brooklyn, man, that's gonna be fun, man. The Eastern Conference, it's gonna be some good postseason basketball. Like you said, you mentioned Boston, you've mentioned the Heat, I've mentioned Indy. I think all of a sudden you're going to look at the teams like, Toronto's still going to be okay with, they have a great, kind of 1, 2, 3 punch when it comes to Lowry, Van Fleet, and Siakam. Philly's still going to make the postseason just because Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris are good enough to do
They're
that.
good.
And then, then I think the Wizards. Hey, why not? Russell Westbrook going over there, join up Bradley Beal.
Beal,
Little
yeah.
sneaky team that'll make the postseason probably. I think a team like,
What about
I was,
Atlanta,
I
man?
was going to say Atlanta. I think is going to make the postseason. I think if John Collins
That's my
is healthy,
squad this year.
I think John Collins is healthy, man. I like the Bogdanovic pickup. I like that they went out and picked up Danilo Gallinari, who's kind of a sneaky little pickup for them. And Clint Capella is kind of someone that everyone forgot about that they traded for last season and
Right.
is going to be their starting center, and makes a good front court with Collins, very athletic, big time dunker spots. You got, Trae Young, and I think it's going to be fun. And I think, that could be a fun team. That could be like an ace seed that, just kind of probably maybe wins a game or two in the postseason. And it's going to be a fun season.
Yeah, I think this year is going to be one of the best NBA seasons in a while. Especially as long as we get to play it, go get your shots, when
Sure.
when you get a shot, you get a chance, go take your shots. Let's make sure we get the season under well, because honestly, you're right. There's so much young talent right now. There's so much stuff. There's so much stuff in the air. I'm like hard pressed to find teams that'll be bad. You really have to start looking at teams that just aren't deep, because your regular season record, we've always talked about this. Your regular season is mostly based on depth. Your winning a championship is based on how many superstars you got. So it really comes down to that, and you just need to get in there. And I'm excited for this season though, and I think you are too. So with that said, I think we covered it all, man. We've been on here for a while. I think we absolutely nailed everything. If anyone has any questions, comments, anything, go to the sportbrosontap.com. We have tons of articles up. We have tons of stuff. Go ahead and comment on those. We get back to you. Check out the YouTube show, Sport Bros on Tap YouTube show. Also, tell your friends. And with that said, I'm good. Are you good?
Yeah, man, I'm good. I'm excited. Let's get ready and we'll see. We'll see what these predictions come about. I'm impressed with your Steph Curry predictions. So, man,
It's Steph, bro.
honestly, I will say it got me sold, and it honestly got me excited all of a sudden because I was a little down. I was a little down on the Warriors. I was just looking forward for get that NBA League pass, get ready for everything else, and I was like, you know what, Kelly Oubre, Wiggins, Wiseman, all these boys. We might have some. We might have some.
Hey, 22nd check in. Go ahead and watch. I bet Steph drops 30 game one, and you're gonna be feeling real good. He's probably hit 6 threes. It's gonna be looking nice. But everybody, thanks for tuning in with us as always. Cody, cheers, bro.
Happy holidays. Cheers, everybody. Have a good one. Thank y'all for tuning in.
Thank you, everybody.